Happy Friday! Hello, my friends. I have missed you guys so much. It is very quiet in my house right now because Evie is asleep, and so George is taking a nap too. So it's like, am I alone in the house? Andrew's playing with his toys up there, and it's just me hanging out. So now I get to hang out with you guys. How are you? How have things been going? Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who celebrated yesterday. I know we have a large international audience, so not everybody was celebrating Thanksgiving yesterday, but for those of you who did celebrate, I hope you had a good time. I know that it's a little bit more challenging for those of you who usually spend it with big families. I was trying to explain to Andrew that when I was little, we always used to go out to my Aunt Barbara's house, and it was like 40 or 50 people. And we mostly were outside, part of the perks of living in Georgia, because it's still okay to be outside usually on Thanksgiving. There would usually be a fire and stuff like that. And it was just huge groups of people, like cousins, extended family, all of that stuff. And I honestly hated it because I had a lot of cousins who made fun of me. And I was always kind of the girl who, if I was super sensitive to things like that. And so I would cry, and then that would only make them, tease me more, that kind of thing. So it's just kind of hard. So it was never my favorite thing to have such huge family gatherings. So I actually really enjoyed just having the five of us, or the four of us just hanging out together. It was really nice, although I would have loved to see my sister during this time. But of course, we're trying to make sure that we're staying home as much as possible. So did we cook the turkey and the ham? Well, we didn't have to cook it. It came cooked. But yeah, we tried to look into donating it. But because of the way it's not fully wrapped, like the way they bring the ham and stuff, it's just covered in a tin foil or whatever. There was no place that would take it. I'm guessing because of COVID stuff or food regulations or whatever. So it's okay, well, we've got a lot of food here. So we had enough food in our house to feed something like 20 people. And it was just the four of us, and two of them are kids and one of them is a baby. So yeah, it was a little bit crazy, but we did our best. And I took the turkey and just shredded up all the meat into different little sections there and put it in the freezer so we can make soups and things like that out of it. So it was a little bit crazy. If you guys didn't see that in my vlogs, if you haven't been following my daily vlogs over there, we ordered honey baked ham to make it easy. And I ordered a turkey, a sliced turkey that was supposed to feed 5 to 7 people. And I thought, oh, we'll have a little bit of leftovers or whatever. But no, they sent us a giant ham and a whole turkey. So, yeah, just a little bit of a mistake on their part, but it was just, I guess, happy coincidence for us, but we definitely would have, I don't know. It's complicated. But anyway, how did you guys do? Yay, LA's here. We have missed you. And I think I saw in the comments before that it is Rana's birthday. So happy birthday to you. So exciting. Yay, there's Rana. So happy birthday. We loved having you here. So I'm glad we get to celebrate your birthday with you. And LA, I know you've been gone from our lives for a bit. So I'm excited to see you after a little bit away. Momo Keen made homemade soup for the first time. How did it go? I have only made homemade soup a few times, and it's mostly just been vegetable soup and just cutting up a bunch of vegetables and stuff and throwing it in a crock pot. So not a lot of interesting soup making going on in my life, but I'm not much of a cook anyway. I haven't done or had a lot of experience cooking in different ways. But oh no, I didn't know you had COVID-19. I'm so sorry. I won't be able to taste it because I'm just getting over COVID. Yeah, that is terrible. And I've heard that that's one of the side effects of COVID is that you lose taste and smell, which is just terrible. My husband lost taste and smell years ago after a sinus infection, and it's no fun. So hopefully that all comes back and it all heals up because that is sucky. But welcome, everybody. I'm glad that you're here. I know that some people tend to usually go like shopping and stuff on Black Friday, but of course, most of us are staying home in our houses and shopping online. So hopefully you've been having some fun doing that. Let me know in the comments if you guys have been doing any Christmas shopping or if you've got your Christmas shopping done. Part of not having a very big family on our end too means I don't have to buy so many, like tons and tons of gifts, but I already had purchased a bunch of stuff for my sister. She's super easy to buy for. So I have a bunch of stuff for my sister, but I do need to get some stuff for her partner and her kids. I've gotten so much stuff already for Andrew. And in fact, before we go on vacation on Monday, I'm going to give him an early Christmas present that I'm very excited about. I am not telling him about it, but I'm excited about it, that he'll get a little bit early. And I've bought a bunch of stuff for Evie. But today, for the first time in years, I've actually bought something that is going to be a surprise to George. So our anniversary is December 19th. So our anniversary is right before Christmas anyway. So we usually don't really, like, if we can, we'll go on a trip or something like that. We had planned to go on a big trip for our 10-year wedding anniversary last Christmas, but then we had Evie and we were like, well, we're not going anywhere because we've got her. And then of course it's just crazy. So we have traditionally just either gone somewhere for our anniversary or gotten each other a big gift, like a new TV or something that's just like our combined gift. Last year for our anniversary / Christmas, you guys saw what he got me, which was that spell cabinet type altar cabinet with a bunch of crystals and different things like that. So that was really nice. So I usually, though, don't get to surprise him with stuff because usually he is hard to buy for. George is very hard to buy for. And I never get to surprise him because I'm always like, what do you want? And then he'll tell me what he wants and then I just order it. And that's pretty much the way it goes. And this year I have gotten him something that is going to be a surprise. So I'm very, very excited about it. I hope that it is something fun for him. I think it will be. So I'll tell you guys what that is another time. I do think I heard the baby waking up. So that means George will also be waking up. Charlie is done with Christmas shopping except for one person, which is amazing. Oh, Angela, you're going to celebrate your anniversary coming up too. Yep, coming up. Oh, and LA's son is getting married on the 19th. It's the perfect day to get married. We had so much fun when we got married. It was just like the best magical time. No, I can't tell you. I can't tell you because if he ends up, sometimes he goes back and watches these videos if he missed them. So not telling. But it's fun and I will tell you about it afterwards. I also, just as a little fun aside, when I was doing, I kind of hermited myself in a hotel room for a couple of nights to keep working on the book. And while I was there and writing, I got a phone call and I never ever answer my phone. It's just something that I don't ever do because I hate to talk on the phone. Let me know in the comments if you're the same way. I'm like, can you just text me or email me? Or I like to video chat, but I hate talking on the phone. I don't know why, but I just don't enjoy it. So I got a phone call and usually I just decline phone calls. I have, when I went to listen to one of my messages recently, I have like 160 unlistened to messages, voice messages. So I never listened to my voicemail either. Just a little bit. Oh, I'm so glad to hear. What is it? Maybe it's just like, I don't know. My mom, when I was growing up, used to be the kind of person who would have the long phone cord, you know, like strung around half the house. And she would talk on the phone for hours every single weekend. She would call my Aunt Kathy and they would talk for 3 hours every morning, or she'd call my Aunt Barbara and they talk for an hour every night. Or her best friend, Linda, they would just call and talk and talk and talk and talk. And maybe that's why I don't like it. I don't know, but I am glad to know I am not the only one. I think it's because when you get so used to talking to people through video or text, and it's like everybody has their turn and you can tell when someone else is talking, you don't talk over people because you're having a conversation, but you can see their cues. And when you're on the phone, I feel like I'm always talking over people and it'll be like, wait, what'd you say? Okay. and then you wait, and then there's an awkward silence, and it's like, oh, okay, now I get to talk. Maybe we've just forgotten the art of how to talk on the phone. I don't know, but I hate it. I even hate to call and make like doctor's appointments and stuff. I just can't stand to talk on the phone. It's just a thing. So anyway, I got a phone call and I was like, because this says the name of our builder. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to answer this. But it turned out it was the lady that worked with us on the sale of our property. And she was saying that the permit went out to the city to start the process of permitting our land to have a house built on it. So it's like just one of the next stages of the process. So when the permit goes through and gets approved, that's when we'll get to meet with the builder and act like the contractor, the general contractor, and talk to him about all the little decisions and make sure everything's exactly the way we want it and stuff. So it's just like one more little step on the path to our dream house. So it made me very happy. So it was a long lead into just the fact that we're just making a little bit of progress toward the house. And if you guys have ever done or heard of the Strengths Finder, it's this basically like those personality tests where you find out kind of more about your strengths and your weaknesses and different things like that. There's tons of different personality tests out there like Myers-Briggs and all that stuff. But there's one called the Strengths Finder. So let me know in the comments if you've done this one before. I know some of you have because I think I've talked to you about it or seen you posting about it. But this is something I did years ago when I took Marie Forleo's B School. And my number one strength is futuristic, which is really not surprising considering how much I love to plan. And my second strength is strategic. And I think my third one is communication. So I've got like all these ones that are leaning towards like planning and strategy and different things like that. Renee says, I've never heard of it. You should take it because it is really, really enlightening. It's very cool. Momokeen, I highly recommend that you take it. I think it costs some money to take it. Might have been like $50 or something like that. Christina, I had a feeling you had taken it. Responsibility. That's interesting. I don't know where responsibility is on my list, but it's like, I forget how many strengths there are. There's like 30 or 40 strengths and it will rank them for you. And if you pay like the entry fee, you just get your top like 5 strengths. And then if you pay to unlock the full test, you get to see all of them and where they are. And there are people who teach courses about how to be better writers and different stuff like that. If you guys have ever heard of Becca Syme, she does this course called Write Better Faster that so many people have recommended. And I have been on the fence several times about taking it. I just haven't had time, where she takes that strengths finder and basically says, here's what your personality is like. And here's how you can use that to write faster and to do better. Oh, I took it recently. I'm number 1 context. So history geek, very cool. So there are lots of courses and stuff out there about how to use Strengths Finder to be better in your work and your writing and different things like that. But anyway, I have futuristic is my number 1 strength. And I think that because of that, I get a lot of energy when I start to think ahead and plan for the future. And so that's kind of what I do when I'm trying to like pump myself up for the things I need to do, or I'm trying to give myself extra energy or have some downtime and like refill the well type stuff, is I like to think about the future and plan for the future. So it was just super fun to get that notification that our house is in process, like the next step is being taken. So I'm excited. I'm hoping that maybe we'll get the approval from the city and the certificate before the end of the year, but we'll see. She said it goes in batches usually, and it can take them sometimes a month to get back to you, or they can do it really fast. So we'll see how that goes. I will keep you guys updated, but I do think we'll probably be moving into our new house probably by end of summer next year. So I'm already thinking ahead to, I just need to think about what we're taking with us, how I want to plan my office. I'm basically going to get 2 rooms in the front of the house. So there'll be an office like this one, but there'll be also another office that I'm excited to plan. So I'm trying to think about like furniture choices. I don't want to get rid of these because they don't sell these furniture pieces anymore. But I've thought about maybe see if I can hire someone to paint them white for me. Let me know for sure in the comments if you've ever taken wood, like dark wood furniture like this, and then turned it white. Because I imagine you have to really like sand it down, and I don't know, it might be too much of a process, but I would love for it to be white. But then again, it is pretty dark. I don't know, but I'm excited for new office stuff, and I've got lots of ideas brewing about what I want to do. So I will definitely keep you guys updated on the process, and I'm going to be starting some Pinterest boards for our dream house and what all I want to do in like in the backyard and the furniture and different stuff like that. And I definitely know that I want to go through and take my time with each space in the house, but I just don't know how long that's going to take. I have this like desire to just move in and have it be exactly what I want. But at the same time, I think it's going to take like probably a year or more to get the house the way I want it. And it'll just be a fun kind of process. So I think it's solid wood, but I don't know. How do I tell? I mean, there's when our movers moved it the last time, they kind of dug a chunk out of it, and it seems like solid wood to me. You would think a woodworker's daughter would know these things, but I think it's solid wood. So yeah, sand it just takes time. I would not want to do it myself. There's no way. And if it would cost like so much money to have someone else do it, then I would not do it. So we'll see. Maybe I'll just leave them. I saw Laura said we all covet those pieces. It's like anytime I post it or have a video where I'm like this, I get so many messages from people that say, where did you get those and can I buy them? And it's like, no. Oh, check the backing, like the back of the cabinet. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I don't know. I do not know. Sand it to rough it up, prime it, and then paint it. Kills primer will cover any color paint, easy peasy. Yeah. To hire someone wouldn't be worth the cost. That's what I'm kind of worried about, because it might be too time consuming and it just wouldn't be worth it. But it's like these drawers are so specifically for craft furniture that it would be so hard to find anything good, like as good as this again. I don't know. We'll see. I did have some questions in the Coven, so I'm going to just refresh and double check. You guys, we have 3,400 people in the Coven, and I'm pretty sure I don't have it on me, but I did track some of my numbers at the beginning of the year, and I think we had like only 2,400 or 2,500. So I think we've gotten about 1,000 people into the Coven this year, which is really, really cool. Makes me happy. Diane, send it to me and I will paint it. I do not trust you for some reason there. Sneaky. All right. So here's some of the questions. So Megan says, I have co-writing questions. One is, how did you find co-writers, i.e. just for the average writer? And my next part of the question is, do you possibly want to co-write again and possibly with me? If not, I understand. So the word co-write kind of threw me on this question because I have never actually co-written. Technically, co-writing means that you're writing a story with someone else. Like you write some of the words, they write some of the words, they edit your words, they have feedback on what's happening in the story. Like I had some really good friends when I lived in Raleigh that were co-writing a series, and the way they would do it is they would work out the plot and the story world and stuff together. They were writing a whole series together, and one person would write a chapter and then she would send it to the next person. And basically every week they would flip-flop back and forth. And mostly because they were writing romance and it was like a paranormal historical romance series, one of the writers was really into the like historical side of things, the dialogue and stuff like that. And the other writer was really into the romance and the male POV and the sex scenes and stuff like that. So they kind of took what they liked most to write and they collaborated. But that was co-writing because the story didn't belong or was written all by one of them. They each had a hand in writing it. I have never done this before, and I would be terrible at doing it that way because I am a control freak when it comes to my stories, and even just collaborating with other people was difficult for me. In terms of how to find co-writers if what you're interested in is actually co-writing with people. I don't think that it's usually the kind of thing where you can manipulate that and be like, hey, I'm just going to go to this person and say, let's co-write a book. I think that really what you have to do is it's got to be an organic process of you met someone who also writes similar to you. You love talking to them, your best friends, or you talk to them a lot and about the stories and you know they write similar to you. And then you come together and say, let's write a book together. I think that that could happen and it would be very like organic. I've never known anyone to start co-writing with someone they barely knew or someone that they didn't already have a deep, close relationship with. And I think that co-writing is very difficult, especially when you're somebody who really wants a lot of control over your stories. Like I've talked about this before, that one of the reasons that I self-published my work to begin with was because I just didn't want, like I would love to have, and I do use editors and beta readers and critique partners and stuff like that because I welcome feedback, but I win in terms of what goes in the final draft. If I know that it needs to be in that story, it's going in the story. So I like having that control. I definitely I think I've talked about this before, but I had a friend, and I won't mention her name because this book was like a New York Times bestseller. But I had a friend before I was self-publishing who had landed a pretty big deal with one of the back then, big six publishers. And she had been writing already adult urban fantasy and had gotten a young adult contract for a series that she was wanting to write. And she spent 3 years of her life rewriting her book according to this editor. And what happened was she had written the book, they gave her a contract on the book. And then when it went to marketing and everything else, the marketing people were like, you know what, we're going to give this book this title. And they picked a title for the book that they liked and they thought would sell really well. And they kind of designed a cover. And she was like, yeah, but that title doesn't really have anything to do with my story. I don't understand. And they were like, well, you need to write it into your story. And it was just like that whole process and listening to her about that process. Then the other thing that happened was she basically wrote into the book something that would make the title make sense, which to me is so outlandish because it's like taking your story and making it something just because they think the title sounds cool is just so weird to me. So she had to do that. Then it got approved. But while she was trying to go through the edits, her editor left the publisher. And so a new editor came in and that editor didn't like her writing. And she was like, you're going to have to rewrite all these things. And so she spent another 1.5 years almost completely rewriting the book because the the editors got changed on her. And when I heard that whole transaction and everything else, then I've talked about this before, I know, but maybe you guys haven't heard this because I tell stories in different places. But when I was getting ready to submit my first book to my first agent pitch, George had been reading my blog at the time, was called The Sweetie Chronicles. Some of you may remember that. It's still kind of listed on my main blog, but I used to actually have just a website called The Sweetie Chronicles. And I used to blog every day, but through the people that were commenting on my blog and different people I had met, he was kind of keeping in touch with a middle grade writer who was writing a story, I think, about mice. And I've talked before about how much I love The Secret of Nim and The Rats of Nim. So she had a kind of a similar story, but she had gotten a publishing deal while I was, blogging and stuff. And he pointed me to one of her blogs that said, basically, when you get a publishing deal, be prepared to throw out and change the parts of your novel you like the best, because once you've signed that contract, you have very little control, unless you're, probably Stephen King gets a chance to do whatever the heck he wants because he's making them millions and millions of dollars. But when you're a new author, you basically just have to do what they want you to do. So if they don't like the book the way it is, they can tell you to write it a different way, and you don't have control over that. And while I know that there are so many traditionally published books that are amazing, and, all of that, no shade thrown on traditionally published books. But for me as an individual, because I have a choice of how I want to do it, I was like, no, I got to control this. I want the story to be the way I want it to be. And maybe there are disadvantages to that because I don't have a publisher that can say, you should do it this way. And maybe they know better than me. But in the end, it's my art, right? So it's like, I want to do it my way. So I do it my way. And for that reason, long story short, I do not think that I could work with a co-writer, because I am not the kind of person, and I'll just go ahead and admit it, who would be able to say, yeah, let's do it your way when it comes to my story. I just couldn't do it. Now, what I did do was collaborate. I've had a couple of different collaborations. One in 2013 was called the 12 NAs of Christmas. And that was like the 12 new adult stories of Christmas. So I reached out to a bunch of new adult author friends and said, hey, let's write some short novels or novellas that are based on Christmas stories, and we'll all publish them at the same time, and we'll kind of brand the covers together. None of the stories were connected. None of them they were all contemporary romances. So no like vampires or anything like that. It was just all contemporary romances. And this became my book, A Season for Hope, which is the third book in the Fairhope series. But that was kind of a collaboration. And to be honest, it was a bit of a nightmare because 12 people was too many for me to keep track of when you had people who had a lot of us who self-publish have our ways about like, this is the way we're going to do it. Oh, Amanda remembers. So many of those books were so good. And so many of the ladies that participated in that event were so amazing. But we did have one author who kind of went prima donna on the whole thing and changed, like we had all agreed on something and how we were going to publish it. And she just did it her own way. And it kind of messed up everybody. And it was such a stressful thing for me, even just that little bit of thing. But the stories were great. And I made a lot of like closer relationships from that. Then in 2018, I guess it was, or 2017 is when it started, I decided to collaborate with some of my friends on the Willow Harbor series. So this came, again, just totally organically. It wasn't like I reached out. Now, with the new adult stories, I did reach out to people. And because we weren't like collaborating on our stories, we were just collaborating on the publishing part of it. That was much easier in terms of storytelling. It was just like, hey, write a Christmas story. And none of that ended up the same, like same story world. And we didn't have to like come up with things that matched. But well, I guess before I did Willow Harbor, we did Midnight Kiss. So several years ago for Halloween, I had some of my friends, Juliana Hagert, Alyssa Rose Ivy, and Jennifer Snyder. We were already just we had met each other at New Adult Sleepover Weekend, like a writers conference thing. And we had chatted and talked and we were having fun together. And then we thought, how cool would it be just to do some kind of like Halloween type story? That became my story after midnight. And we did collaborate on that idea. We all said, okay, let's make it Halloween night. We're going to have a voodoo shop in New Orleans that all our characters have to go visit. So technically it's all happening in the same city on the same night in New Orleans. But other than that, our characters don't know each other and they didn't cross paths. So we all had this one character that appeared in all 4 stories and we published them all together. So that was after midnight for me. And every book had a title that was either had the word midnight or the word kiss in it. And that was super, super fun. We had a lot of good times with that story. So after collaborating on that project, we realized we're all 4 moms. We're all 4 indie writers. We all write young adult and new adult stuff. So why don't we start kind of like an author mastermind together? So we started meeting up together every Friday for like an hour to an hour and a half on like a Zoom call, right? Google Hangouts is where we started. And we just chatted about life and different things. So this was very organic process. And after chatting for a while, we all were like, oh, wouldn't it be super fun to write in a same story world? And so that it just came naturally out of conversation. So in terms of like reaching out for collaboration, I think it's easy to reach out when you want to publish with other people, like let's do a big box set together or something like that. When one person takes control, it becomes much easier. Like I've talked about doing these anthologies with Anthea, where she puts it together. I've got another one coming out, you guys. So in January, we have a new anthology of short stories coming out, and I will have a story in that anthology, and I cannot wait. It's already halfway written, and it's going to be awesome. So that'll be out in January or February. But she puts those together. She does all the work. She makes all the decisions, and we just give her the story. And that becomes very easy. But the more that you collaborate in terms of the story, like for Willow Harbor, we spent a year going through and making maps of what this town looked like, recurring characters, storylines that would match, different things like that. But when it came to actually writing the story, we each just wrote our own story. And then we had a group wiki that we all pulled from. So when I would write my story, I put all my info into the wiki. And so then when Juliana was going to write her story, she could see any details about characters that went into my story. And that was super fun. And yes, Laura, that is the truth. It can be really fun with the right people. But it's not the kind of thing that most authors are just going to be like, hey, let's write and co-write a story. So long story short, I think that if you want to collaborate or co-write with someone, you need to think about how deeply you want to collaborate. Is this just going to be a marketing collaboration where you each write your own stories, or is this going to be a collaboration where you actually write together and different things like that? So Jennifer says, what do you mean you say you added your info to a wiki, like a Wikipedia page? So this was a private wiki inside a place called PB Works, which is really just a wiki, like an internal wiki that businesses use, but it basically has the same functionality of a wiki like Wikipedia, where all the pages are intertwined and linked and all of that sort of stuff. But it had, like, we had pages in this wiki for each one of our characters, for every shop they go into, to what the town looked like, what the smells were like, what the festivals were like, all of that stuff. So it was private, so nobody else could see it but the four of us. But yes, it was like a Wikipedia of our own. Like, we created our own series Wikipedia. And that is actually how I do all of my series Bibles, are in wikis. And I'm actually going to be making a new one for the Witch's Key coming up. And I'm going to record that process for my Heart Breathings channel, because I'm going to do it inside Notion, which is going to be really cool. And no, it is not complicated at all to use. It is really simple. Once you get your basic structure down, it's very simple. So I will teach you how to do it. But yeah, with the collaboration, I would say just let it be an organic process. And really, I would not recommend that you work with people that you don't know very well, because this is a crazy business. And number one, it can be dangerous to attach your name to other people. So like, if you started working really closely with someone and then it turns out that that person was like a scammer, or they were doing stuff that's against Amazon terms of service and you just didn't know it, or they were taking out ads that were inappropriate, or they had like really crazy, like, I don't know, like storylines that really did not fit your audience at all, or they used like lots of swear words and you don't, you got to be really kind of careful about who you collaborate with, who you recommend, who you try to connect your name to, because it can affect your own personal brand. So be careful with that kind of stuff. But I would say it starts that way of, really getting to know the people that you're working with. So Megan also asked, if I were to send you my debut novel for free, would you read it and possibly give it a review? I will send it to you for free. So I tend to make a policy not to read people's books that send to me for review. Most authors actually will not review a book. Sometimes you will see what's called a blurb on a book. So blurb would be like, if Stephen King blurbs somebody's book, that means on the front of their book, Stephen King has a little quote that says like, one of the best books I've read this year, or, whatever. And that usually, believe it or not, is something that the publisher has paid Stephen King to write. And actually, sometimes, now I don't know about Stephen King in particular, but sometimes the authors haven't even read those books. It's just, their publisher will give them $10,000 to put this blurb on a book. And that's just the behind the scenes truth about some of this stuff. And of course, I'm not saying anyone in particular, just saying sometimes that's how it works. Also, when it comes to like that kind of thing with fellow authors in the indie world, sometimes, like if Juliana reached out to me because we've worked together in the past and she was like, hey, I have a new book coming out, would you mind reading it and giving it a little blurb? Then of course I would be happy to do that for her if I had time for it. But in terms of reviews, it's actually against like Amazon's terms of service for me as an author to review another fellow author's books. So in general, authors do not typically review other authors' books. I have no problem, and Amazon has no problem if I review like a nonfiction book that is not in my genre. Like if I wanted to, like I saw somebody mention that Joanna Penn has a book on co-writing. So I did see that and I meant to pull it up. I wouldn't have any problem reviewing her book on co-writing as long as I had only nice things to say about it, which I'm sure I would because Joanna Penn is amazing. But in general, writers do not review other writers' books, especially if they are in the same genre. Also, I think that especially when it comes to someone in your community, it gets kind of awkward when somebody says, hey, will you read my book for a review? And it's nothing against you, Megan, or anyone in particular. It's just the fact that it can get super awkward because I've had instances in the past where people have said, can you read my book for review? And then it's like, if you say yes, but then your life gets busy because I have literally 1,000 things to do all the time, like all of us do, and you don't read it. I've had those people come back and be like, did you read the book yet? Why haven't you read my book? And that kind of stuff really starts to stress me out. And then I've had instances before where people have sent me their book and then they've said things like, you're going to use my ideas. I think you're telling my ideas, blah, 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 stuff like that. And then I've also had instances where someone has sent me their book and I've started reading it and it was not good. And so then what do you say to somebody that is like part of your fan base who wants you to say nice things about their book? And it puts authors in a really awkward situation. So long story short, usually the answer is no. Now for Heart Breathings, I have had people send me their books, like their paperbacks, because they took my Publish and Thrive course and they've said, I wanted you to have a copy of it because I wouldn't have been able to publish this without you. And some of those books I have actually been really interested. Like A.N. Sage sent me one of her books and I'm taking that book with me on vacation because I really want to read it. But I probably will not review it like on Amazon, or I know I won't review it like on Amazon, but I might mention it on my channel. So long story short, if you have a book that you would like to send to me, it's usually best to send it to my PO box if you would like to. And if I have time, I will happily read it, but I probably will not review it. So long story short. All right. So Jennifer Evelyn Hayes has some really interesting questions. And I saw these and I was like, oh, I wish I had like a week to play around with these because I'm like, these are fun. But I don't have great answers, but I'm going to bring them up anyway. Because 1 week from today, we have a big release. Fate's Surrender will be coming out 1 week from today. If you have not pre-ordered this book, the links are down below for you to pre-order. There have already been over 1,000 pre-orders of the book, so I would love for you to go and grab it as well. It will be out on Friday. It costs $3.99, and this is the final book in the series. If you have not started this series, Eternal Sorrows is the name of the series. There are 3 books. The first one is called Death's Awakening, and it is free to read. You can also purchase book 2, Sorrow's Gift, or you can read it for free over on Wattpad. So go and grab it, read the first 2 on Wattpad for free if you'd like, and then grab the 3rd book, which will be out in a week. And it's not quite finished yet. This is my I'm not finished yet crazy face right now, but it is coming out really good. And my beta readers are already reading it. Actually 10 minutes before I sat down to talk to you guys, I just sent the second third of the book. So now they have 2/3 of the book, and they have like the first 60 to 65,000 words. And Jennifer, I think I told you guys last week, one of my beta readers, she said that it gave her chills already from the beginning. And then my other beta reader, he was like, oh my God, this is my favorite series. And now I'm already like totally invested. He's like, I'm afraid this is going to be a really tough ending. And I do have to tell you guys, you're going to be mad at me with this one because I don't think I have ever put my characters through so much hell. But basically, when you get to, there's a lot of action in the first part of this book. Then there's a little bit of journey type time where you've got a little bit of downtime. And then the whole last part of this book is going to be if you enjoy the book and you care about these characters, you're not going to stop turning pages. So when you buy it, just be ready to put yourself into a reading coma for a little while, because it is going to be a little bit intense and it's going to potentially break your heart in various other ways. I will leave it at that. Yes, this is somebody asked, is that your new phone? So this phone was my reward to myself for hitting 50,000 words for NaNoWriMo. So I told you guys at the beginning of the month that I was doing 50,000 words in the month of November. I am now at over 65,000 words for the month of November, and the book still is not finished, because even though I've been working on this book for 2 years, I basically have rewritten the whole thing in the past 3 weeks. We're not going to talk about it, but it will be better for it. And as George said to me last night, this is not the first time we've been here. So yeah, it's all good. I think I saw a couple comments come by, so I want to make sure I hit them. Was looking to get the first 2 books in paperback. So thank you for mentioning that, Nikki. So the first book came out in paperback. I don't know that I ever published the second book in paperback. I don't think I ever did publish it in paperback, but I do have the new covers, and I just need to get them updated. So yes, they should be updated with the new covers, hopefully before book 3 comes out. I can't promise that the paperback will be up before or by the time the ebook comes out for book 3, because I'm going on vacation and I won't even be in town when the book comes out next Friday, but they are coming soon. I promise they're coming soon. So yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's see. Oh, Chris finished Sarra's gift. I hope you loved it. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see. You'll finish. We have faith in you. Thank you so much, Gina. I'm telling you, this is just sometimes what my process is, that it's like a book will feel like pulling teeth. I know it's not coming together, little pieces. I think about it all the time. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh my God, this is how this book goes. And then I just have to sit down and write it all over again. And I've written it and then edited it as I'm going. And it is 50,000 times better than it was a month ago. And I'm so excited for it. But now I have 3 days left to finish it. And I know it's almost there. We're almost there. It's just going to be a long couple of days. And that's okay. It's going to be fun. Yay, Cherie says, I'm so excited for this book. Thank you. I can't wait to read it. I'll probably read it over the weekend. I don't think I've been so excited for a book release in a really long time. Thank you, Renee. And I know so many people say, oh, I don't read zombies, but I promise you, if you like my writing, I think you'll like this. There are some more like gross parts, because it is, you can't tell a zombie series without a little bit of zombie in it, right? But I think that you will enjoy it. And this last part is a lot of twists and turns like you guys love, hopefully. So it'll be fun. So Jennifer's questions: if somebody designed a clothing line based on Parrish and your Eternal Sorrows trilogy, what would some of the clothes look like? One of the things that I think is fun about this particular series is that I really kind of designed every character specifically to play with stereotypes. And like, that's one of the things they tell you never to do when you're writing a story, is like, don't rely on stereotypes. So as a young author, I started actually writing this series like 13 years ago. And I thought it would be fun to intentionally choose character stereotypes and then take them throughout the story and twist them into things that you didn't expect. Like, you have the too stupid to live, like blonde cheerleader stereotype girl, Carmen. But as you get to know her, you realize she's actually been through some things in her life that are really, really difficult. And once you get past her sort of snarky exterior, she's actually like really intelligent, really passionate, and caring, but you just don't know that when you first meet her because you judge her like you would judge a stereotype. And that was intentional when I wrote this book. And so you think about Parrish. Parrish is kind of like the rebel girl who's kind of more like on the goth side of things, but she comes from kind of a rich family where her sister is a violin prodigy. So she's kind of like the rebel older sister who resents her younger sister. It's a very stereotypical in a way, right? But I love Parrish so much. And I definitely see her style as being somebody who, like, if we had to do a clothing line based on Parrish specifically, it would be a line of boots, I feel like a line of just kick-ass shoes, because I feel like that would so be her thing. And it's such a strange thing when you're writing a book that I can see her outfit, but I'm not a super descriptive writer when it comes to telling what people are wearing, because it feels kind of strange to be like, what, she's going to like look in the mirror while she's in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. But hopefully you guys have seen just from reading the book, those of you that have read it, that she does have a certain kind of style to her. But I definitely could see her clothing line being very much like Doc Marten kind of boots, or boots that go all the way up to the knee that have a lot of like buckles to it. I think that would be totally Parrish's style. But I think she would also, for some reason, I can also see her in like plaid skirts kind of thing, like with a twist. So Hichigo says, does the book have zombies in it? Yes. So it is a zombie apocalypse and witches kind of mashup. And I was thinking about this weekend, because when I first started writing this series, this really isn't funny, but it just struck me as funny, like weird, crazy. That when I first started writing this series all the way back in like 2006, 2007, if you had told me I would be writing the final book in this series while at a hotel, while I had to wear a mask to go downstairs to get a coffee, I wouldn't have believed you, because we were in the middle of a pandemic. I would have been like, well, that's not real. So it was just kind of a very surreal experience having to put on a mask to go get a cup of coffee this weekend, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's too much. It's too much. So yeah, I think for it would be a clothing line, mostly a line of great shoes. If there was an Eternal Sorrows cocktail, what would be in it? Oh my gosh. I think that if there was an Eternal Sorrows cocktail, it would have to be green, because you can't have a zombie cocktail that's not green. It just needs to be green. And I feel like it would be very fruity, but also have like little tiny eyeballs in it or something. Well, I won't go too far for the people that hate zombie stuff, but I feel like it would be something green. Like Midori sour kind of thing. I'm not sure. So this third one is funny because there's actually two questions sort of about music this time. Absinthe. Oh my gosh, Tracy, we're going crazy up in here. Yeah, well, yeah, we could go with absinthe. I don't know if that's legal in my state, but we can try. Oh no, I just lost my place. Come back. She asked about music, so let me find it. There we go. If there was an Eternal Sorrows theme song, what popular song would it be similar to, or would you love to, or who would you love to sing it? See you in the coffee chat. This one is too hard, Jennifer. It's so weird because I always listen to music when I'm playing things, so I definitely listen to music. I listen to background stuff, but I never am one to do like playlists or have specific songs that I think of. I think maybe I just don't have enough time to listen to music. I don't know. So I don't have an awesome answer to that question. I know that one of the like typical like type things that I would listen to when I was first like trying to go into the like beginnings of writing this story, I listened to that Let the Bodies Hit the Floor kind of Rob Zombie song. It has a different name to it, but I listened to that a lot when I was going into like battle scenes and that kind of music, like Rob Zombie kind of music. And that was perfect for those battle scenes. But for the most part, I haven't really been listening to anything specific. So I have no amazing answer for that. But if anybody ever has like an inspiration that you're like, oh, this song reminds me of Parrish, or this song reminds me of this series, series, or even Harper in the other series, please post them to me because I would love to hear them. So also, just as another question from the group, Kelly Ann asked, mostly just popping by to say thank you for the motivation, hoping to hit 60K on my Nano project today. Yay, Kelly. But do you make playlists for your books and projects? Spotify playlists are my life. So yes, Dragula, thank you very much. I was like, I know it has a different name, but I could not think of it. Spotify playlists. This is something I have almost never done. I think I did way back in the day, make a playlist for Demons Forever. And I think maybe it's here on my YouTube channel. If it's not private, it's there. But I don't know. I have just not really ever been somebody to make playlists for my books. Now, sometimes, like I have one friend who does Pinterest boards for every single book that she does. Now that speaks to me a little bit more, but it's also super time consuming. And I feel like I have done in the past, I have done collages, like taking images and making like kind of like vision board collages, but I haven't ever done like Pinterest boards really. I would definitely love to get more into that imagery because I think it would help me. I have been doing, some of you have seen on my other channel, I've been doing an outline wall where I've actually been taking images from online that I found that inspired me. And that actually led to a huge breakthrough because George and I were standing in front of the wall talking about stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what's going to happen. And it was just so, it wouldn't have happened without those images on the board. So that has been really cool. But when it comes to music, I just never have. And lately I've been listening to like ambiance background music, like fires crackling, or like I was listening to the Gryffindor Common Room the other day. And then I was listening to one that was like a fortune teller's caravan that had like bubbling potions and stuff like that. That I feel like, oh, it is here. Thank you so much. Oh, hi, Janet. Yeah, the Demons playlist. But that is like, I don't even know if there's still stuff like out, out on the channel. Like there may be stuff that still says like this video is not here anymore because that was like 8 years ago. So I guess it's, kind of interesting. But I definitely feel like music is a place, even though I love music and I listen to a lot of music, I feel like that's a place where I never have like combined my love for music with my like playlist for writing. So I don't know why. And sometimes, especially when I'm writing this kind of stuff where I have to really be thinking and I'm putting myself like physically, or not physically, but like mentally putting myself in the minds of so many different characters. And there's a lot of action and things coming together that I just can't be listening to music that has words to it because I can't think straight. But because I also have my son who likes to talk to himself while he's playing video games, I have to have some kind of headphones on if I'm writing with him. So it's like, okay, that kind of bubbly music and stuff has really been getting me through for sure. So I see something going on like, I don't know who you're talking to. Oh, maybe you mean Sarah. If you made a video of my book I'm writing, would you like to see or hear about it? Because I'm just wondering, because I love your videos and I love talking to people. I mean, if you make a video about your book, like a trailer, is that what you're talking about? Absolutely. If you make a video, like a trailer or a video about your book, please go ahead and link it for us down below. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love to hear about your book for sure. So definitely put that in the links if you have it. I'm hunting down the Hufflepuff one immediately. Yes, somebody told me, I think it was maybe like Lisa Forret on her live stream the other day. She was talking about how she had listened to the Ravenclaw Common Room. And I was like, is there a Gryffindor Common Room? And there is. And actually, I just found one that was like an old Victorian mansion that has like lightning that goes and there's ghosts that come by. And I was like, well, hello, this is amazing. So these like ambiance videos are something I've only kind of discovered recently. There's one that I was listening to that was like a library and you can hear books shuffling and people talking. And I was like, this is like heaven, especially in this COVID-19 world where we can't like actually go into libraries and sit down and write. It was amazing. So definitely just love that stuff for sure. Are there any other questions. We still have about 7 minutes to go. But I just have to tell you guys, thank you so much for being here, for hanging out. This year has been so amazing. So as I was thinking about everything that I'm grateful for yesterday over, Thanksgiving, it's like, I am so incredibly grateful for this community, for all of you that show up, whether you're showing up live or in the replay. So hello to all our replay watchers. But the Heart Breathings community, but also the Sarra Cannon community and the Coven and everybody who's a part of that. It just means so much to me. And I cannot thank you for that enough, because I have had the best time hanging out with you guys. I hope that you have as well. Oh, yes, Rachel, I saw that you asked that and then I let it go. So Rachel asked, do you know how to pick a pen name? Is there a process? So what I recommend, if you're going to pick a pen name, the first thing that I would do is I would go to like Amazon and to Google, and I would start searching. So if, for example, you have a name in mind, so we could just use Sarra Cannon. Let's say you thought of a name like, oh, Sarra Cannon. I would go in and I would spell it different ways. I would look for it and search for it on both Google and on Amazon. When you get to picking pen names, it gets really difficult because there are so many indie published authors now that sometimes, especially for a normal name like Katie Briggs or, whatever, like you could just come up with a bunch of different names. You might have someone else who already has those names already. And so you want to try, if you can, to pick a name that hasn't been used, and especially stay away, of course, from names that are like really big author names. Like if you find someone who's used a name similar to the one you want to use, and they've got like one book that they self-published like back in 2010, I wouldn't worry about it so much. But if it's like, Nora Roberts or something like that, I wouldn't use it. So, stay away from big names, but also you want to search Google too, because you want to make sure that you're not like writing children's books and there's like a adult film star that has the name and the domain for that particular thing. Let me talk about that while my 8-year-old son pops up behind me. So you want to make sure that you've got that like uniqueness there. Another thing in terms of the process, when you start looking at names, is I would look too on like Instagram, web, just checking for the domain on Google and things like that to see if it's available. Because if possible, you would want to get like sarracannon.com, or, Instagram would be Sarra Cannon, your Facebook page would be called Sarra Cannon. And you want to make sure that those things are available. But when it comes to actually, when you're trying to brainstorm a name, you could definitely have, like somebody said, I picked my middle name. Try to think of names that you've always liked. I have a book that's like 1,001 baby names, and there's tons of baby name type things up online, and you could easily just get lost searching in those kind of names. So start thinking about that. Another cool thing is to start thinking about, like, if you're writing a specific genre, like you're writing horror, think about like, what would be a cool name if you picked up a horror novel on the shelf at Barnes & Noble? What would be a cool name that would match your genre? So those kind of things are, I think, pretty cool. And then run those names by friends and see if anybody goes, ooh, that's kind of a cool name, and start thinking about it. So I think it could be cool. Oh, so Chris said, my writing name is Indigo and I use it as my middle name now. So just, they're like, the sky's the limit. Use anything that you think you've kind of been drawn to in the past, start making lists, but definitely go through once you've kind of got it narrowed down and do those searches to make sure nobody else is using them. Or try to get as unique as you can. And if you can brand it to the genre that you like to write, that is going to be even better for sure. So you want to say hi? We've got a little baby. She is getting so big. She's almost 15 months. You want to say hi? Hi, everybody. Her shirt says magical like mommy. Magical like mommy. So I have talked before, I have written part of, almost finished, a psychological thriller, but I don't really want to publish it under Sarra Cannon for various other reasons, because it's not going to be teen. It's not going to be paranormal. So I've thought about creating a pen name. So the pen name that I kind of have created for that is Veronica Pike. And I got that name from two of my favorite things. Veronica Mars, which was the inspiration behind Harper in my Demon series, and Pike is Christopher Pike, which was one of my favorite authors growing up. So I just took those two things and was like, oh, Veronica Pike. And I also went and looked at psychological thriller type stuff and realized that a lot of the names have like a single short last name to it. And that seemed to be kind of cool. So I thought it would be neat. So Mystic said, well, you have to do a DBA for Veronica Pike. I don't actually have to do one. I could if I wanted to. So if the cat's out of the bag here. I have already told you guys about it, but if I had wanted to keep it completely separate, I could have done a DBA underneath my LLC for Dead River Books so that when I publish to Apple Books, I could have them use that as my publisher name. But really, since I'm not trying to be secret about it, I would just publish it under Dead River Books, and then I don't have to have a legal DBA. So no, I will not be doing a DBA. But I will be doing website and different social media if I do. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I can finish that book next year. But of course, my priority is to get SM French Fry. I can't believe you remember that. It's so funny. Yeah. So Diane, I don't know if I could use a pen name. I don't know if I could keep it secret. I don't know either. It's so funny. Alexandra says, for my German books, I use my nickname and the last part of my last name because sky is the limit. I love it. That is so awesome. So yes, I don't know what you asked, Hichigo. I'm sorry. I don't see a question. Oops, wrong one. So yeah. If you have a channel and you want to post your link here, you are welcome to tell people that you have a channel here. This is a super supportive group of people here. So, all right. Oh, that's the question. Please check out my channel. So if anybody wants to check out their channel, and if anybody here has a channel that you guys want to tell us about, also, if any of you, just for the record, if any of you have any sales going on in your small business, no matter what business you're in, please feel free to link them here. If you guys would like, we could also post we don't usually do a lot of promo stuff in the Coven, but I know we do have some people that are, maybe you do Scentsy or Color Street or any of those kind of things, or the essential oils that you sell. Maybe we could do just a one-time kind of like Black Friday promo post in the group, if you guys would be interested in that and sharing things. So Angela says, I design things for Redbubble. I know that Jennifer Evelyn Hayes does as well. So if you guys have some sales, 25% off my Etsy code with Peanut25. So what I will do is I will post a thread in the Coven after this for anybody who wants to. I really don't want for us to, post that kind of thing on a regular basis, like just on the wall so that it becomes a lot of promo, but just as a kind of a one-time thing, we could do a promo post to help support small businesses and authors in our group. I think that would be really fun. Those are my glasses. Oh, are you putting them on? That's the cutest thing of all time. What you doing? Little Evie. Oh my God, she's so cute. Yeah, I looked down earlier and realized I had rose gold everything, like my coil on my planner, my iPad, my pins, all of it was rose gold. It was so funny. You want to say hi? You're kind of off camera. Hi. We have to go get Andrew's haircut tomorrow. It's going to be kind of a fun thing. So anyway, guys, we are an hour in. Thank you so very much for being here today. I love you guys so much, and I really, really look forward to this. We will obviously be on vacation next week, so please go grab Fate Surrender. I am not going to do a ton of marketing for this series because I'm just not going to be around. So please go ahead and share the news. I will make a few posts, and I know Janet's here. She's going to help me out too while I'm gone. But I would love for you guys to read the book. I know you're going to love it. So set aside some time next weekend to read the final book or to read all three of the trilogy if you've been holding on to them until it was done. And there's lots of really fun stuff coming up. Remember too that we have next Friday off, but then we'll be going for the next few weeks until we get to Christmas. And then then on January 1st, we will start reading The Witch's Door. And I am so, so excited to read that with you guys. It's going to be awesome. And I can't wait to update you on it as we go. 2021 is going to be an amazing year. We will have The Witch's Door and probably the final book of the Witch's Key series next year. But even better, we will have Vengeful Darkness coming out on May 11th, and possibly the final book in the Shadow Demon saga will be coming out late next year. So it's going to be a big year. Diane also mentioned HB90. So my HB90 course, if any of you have been waiting to join, opens on Sunday for enrollment, and we will start on December 13th. So if you've been wanting to come hang out, take that course, really make 2021 your best year ever, and really take that to-do list that feels overwhelming and break it down into manageable tasks, I will teach you how to do it. So come hang out with me in that class. It will open for enrollment on Sunday. So I cannot wait. Thank you guys so much for all the support and for all of the great wishes. I promise that we will be super safe on vacation. We're going to mostly hole up in our little suite and just have a good time there. But I will be probably disappearing almost completely from the social media sphere for a week. But I was so glad to see you guys today. Thank you all for being here. And I will see you in 2 weeks, actually, but I will see you in the coven as well. So if you're not in the coven, the link to join is down below, as well as the links for pre-ordering Faith Surrender. All right, bye.
Say bye.
Say bye?
Say bye-bye.
No. She's into this pen. Say bye. At least we got a smile. Bye, you guys. Happy birthday, Rana. See you guys later. Bye.